First time he met Priscilla happened to be at the house that evening when she was introduced to him. And when she walked in the door, I mean, a very pretty young lady, but I didn't know how old she was at the time. And I figured she was about 16, but at the time she was 14, I find out later. But she was very mature, very quiet at first, because naturally walked in the room with all these guys in there. And then Elvis, I mean, that's a pretty tough situation to be in. But yeah, I'll never forget that day.
I think Priscilla and I, and we were the youngest in the group, felt the shyest at the time. And it's never anything that we sit down and, talked about or anything, but I definitely felt it. Years later, we've kind of talked about it, and it was hard to do. Elvis was a very jealous person, okay, with anybody. And there's a line that you had to be very careful of even if my affection for Priscilla was just on a human level, you had to be careful how you express that, where it didn't cause jealousy.
And she was going to get rid of most of us.
Very few succeed.
She didn't succeed and didn't really try real hard until they got married. Once she had a ring on her finger is when she tried to separate Elvis from us, with the exception.
But that's a hard thing to come into because you got so many around. I mean, that's not easy.
Well, I know, I understand that, and I said,
Yeah.
But that was between her and Elvis, not us.
That's a good point.
Because the fact of the matter is, we would have loved to spend more time with our families.
Yeah.
But he insisted, as you all know, he insisted that we be there.
That's right. Well,
So that she would start planning things with like her and Elvis and Joe and Joni. And the other person who played a role in that was Colonel Parker. That's why all those weekend trips to Palm Springs were just the four of them. Of course, Billy, myself, Billy's wife Joe, Patsy, and a couple of other people didn't want to go to Palm Springs anymore because of all that. Because the atmosphere was totally changed.
Between some of the guys on tour.
Yeah, and the atmosphere was changed. So she knew what she was getting into after she was here for maybe 6 months.
Well, she was in the whirlwind. There's no doubt about that.
See, he pushed her in a certain position. We've all agreed with this.
Oh, yeah, in every position you could think of.
Yeah, but I mean, she was only around when
Pick a
we wanted her
position,
around.
David.
Billy did.
Well, yeah, pick a position.
But he really gave her no choice because he didn't leave
Chris
her
had more
alone so
airtime than a
much.
Goodyear blend.
I think he tried.
He left her
Listen,
alone a
I
lot.
think he tried, and and right after they got married, remember that he cut back on the group. So I think he was trying to make that change.
There was a
He didn't like the change.
He didn't like it.
Oh, no, he didn't like the change. Colonel liked the change. Priscilla liked the change to some degree.
Well,
She would like to
keep
cut it
that
down,
control factor,
But he didn't like it. I mean,
He didn't like being married.
right.
He
She
didn't
couldn't
want to be
change it. He
married.
didn't want
He
to be.
hated it.
In the first place.
He didn't want to get married to her in the first.
It was not.
He'd already been married to her for
our
5 years
fault,
almost.
I mean, he
Oh,
wanted to
boy,
live with her. He's raised her since she was 14. I mean, every man's fantasy in his lifetime.
And
If you're any normal man, a 14-year-old girl, and you're raised, come on.
the day he asked me to be the best man, he told me,
Yeah.
I don't want to get married, but I'm
He
being
didn't.
forced to.
Yeah.
Because Elvis's lifespan with a woman was anywhere from 2 to 4 years.
I need to interject. It wasn't because he didn't love her.
No,
He did love
he
her.
cared
He didn't
about
want to
her.
get
Sure he
married
did.
because he shouldn't have been married. He
No.
didn't want to
No,
marry
I know
her.
that. Yeah.
That's the key. He did
Well,
love
there was
her.
more
We know
lust
that.
involved than was anything else at the time.
Yeah.
And that's all right.
Actually, this is a scene in her miniseries, and it's true. I was at Graceland. I was living there within the first year, and kind of this sensitive young guy. I didn't have a lot of hang-ups, actually, and hadn't seen Priscilla in a day or so, or Elvis. And Priscilla came down the steps, and she didn't look good, I just assumed she was sick, and I said, where have you been? And she said, I've just been, upstairs. And I said, are you feeling okay, I don't know what the response was. It was, just, yeah, I'm fine, thanks for asking, or something, And I didn't know what was wrong was her and Elvis had been on a 2-day flight. And when she went back upstairs, I could hear the lamps flying. Evidently what happened upstairs is they continued the argument, and Priscilla said something to the effect, well, at least Jerry cares how I'm feeling. And that didn't go over very, very well.
In 1972, Johnny Rivers and I became very, very close friends, and I began working for him. One afternoon, I get a phone call from John. He said, Larry, Elvis needs you, man. I said, what do you mean? He said, he broke up with Priscilla. She left him. He's going through a lot. He called me up, and he told me he's going through a lot of things, and I just know that you've got to be in his life again. Let's go to Vegas. I said, okay, let's go. So Johnny and his girlfriend and a few other people and I, we went to Vegas. We sat in one of Elvis's booths. During the show, Elvis introduced Johnny to the audience. When the show was over, the maitre d' came up and said, Elvis would like you all to come backstage. I hadn't seen Elvis in a couple of years. We went backstage. Elvis came out of his dressing room and he walked up to me and we just hugged.
Well, it wasn't because Priscilla left for Mike Stone. I think it was she had the effrontery to leave him. And I think that's where it all started from. It's like, Priscilla was married, Elvis wasn't. I think it's a good way to say it. And it really, he didn't consider himself married, only she did.
Well, were things changing for you?
Well, yeah, because the pressure was really starting to ramp up pretty bad, and he was losing, and Elvis didn't like to lose. I don't think it's Elvis more so than the other man, especially when you find out she's going out with somebody else. It's a blow to any man's psyche. I don't think that, and especially to his. I wish I'd have had a support system around me that he did when I was getting through my first divorce.